So happy Mother's Day to everyone. I just wanted to come on and share a couple of things with you that helped me as a mother, some of my struggles as well. So, one thing I would say, I was a very young mother. I was 17 when I had my first child, um, 18 when I had my second, got my tubes cut and tied, and still had two more after that, 4 years apart, but that's a whole nother story. But being a young mother, one of the things I wish I had was a little bit more support. I was on my own. I graduated at 16, and I lived in my own apartment with my daughter. So clearly, I made some mistakes because I was a child myself. Then my mother died several weeks before I turned 21, so that support that I needed, I didn't really have. So I did make a lot of mistakes. There were resources around, but as I grew, I learned, and one of the things I would say is to avail yourself of the resources around you. Read books and trial and error, but don't be afraid to admit when you've made a mistake. One thing that I wish I had done a little bit more of was be a little more softer with my children. I did not want them to be as soft as I was because I felt like I had been taken advantage of. So I did not want that cycle to repeat, and I was very tough on my girls. Um, I I think it was a good thing because I taught them life skills and how to survive, but I didn't necessarily teach them how to thrive. And so that is what we're learning, and I'm growing with them and showing them these things and modeling it for them. The other thing is, I had a son, which was my last child, born in 1998, and I lost him. He was born January 29th, 1998, and he died June 2nd on my mother's birthday in 2000 at 16 months old. So that grief consumed me for a very, very, very long time. I was angry. I was um, I was very hurt. I always wanted boys because I didn't know what to do with girls. I wasn't soft. I was raised by wolves, my brothers and his friends and my male cousins and that. So I always wanted boys, and I ended up with three girls. But one thing I know is that the Creator gives you what you need, not necessarily what you want. What's best for you, what's going to make you the highest and best version of yourself. And my daughters have definitely taught me how to be more feminine, how to be more soft, and I'm very grateful for it. Um, and it's funny because one can do hair, one is does nails, and she's an esthetician, and the other one they're doing all these feminine things, and they didn't get it from me, but it forced me to learn more things about being a female and being a woman. And so as I've gotten older now, I have developed more skills in that. So one thing I would say, if you've experienced any kind of grief or loss as a mother, don't isolate yourself. That was what I did, and it's one of the worst things that you can do. Find someone that you can talk to. Find a safe space where you can offload that grief and deal with it. Don't stuff it because it comes out in other ways. So one thing I can say that as a mother that makes me proud of, I look at my daughters and I say these are the best three accomplishments of my life. I have raised strong and beautiful, intelligent daughters who are self-sufficient, and I am striving to do the best that I can to leave a legacy that they will be proud of. On top of that, I now have three grandsons, so maybe the Creator gave me what I asked for when it was time. So I'm so grateful to be able to be in this space at 51 years old and be able to not just see my daughters, but grow and be grown, but to also see how they parent and how they mother, and to be able to provide advice and to talk with them uh, openly and freely about my mistakes and ask their forgiveness, and even to point out pitfalls and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. I tried that, and this is how it ended up for me. So I'm grateful for that kind of 180, where I started as a statistic, a 17-year-old in this world by myself, trying to figure things out, pretty much a single parent. And then I grew into this well-rounded woman who is now full of experiences and wisdom to share with other people. So I hope you take time to bless your mother if you still have her. I lost mine, like I said, at 20 years old. And so I've been 31 years without a mother, but I'm grateful that there have been women that were placed in my life to continue that rearing and continue that parenting that I so desperately needed. Um, One thing that I have found, this camaraderie in women, and you will get exactly what you need if you're open to it, and if you surrender to the Creator, and whatever that may be. If you surrender to and be open to being taught, being held accountable. I can tell you that my middle two girls, their grandmother taught me a lot. She taught me how to cook. I could cook. My mother, I was accident prone as a kid, so she would let me watch her cook, but I couldn't really help her cook unless I was, breaking up celery or doing some stuff like that. No knives, none of that stuff. I watched my brother cook. He made egg gravy out of eggs. Okay, so, and I was his guinea pig because clearly I've always loved eating, right? Um, but as I grew up, and the other women that came into my life, they taught me some more of those things. I can remember Eric's mom, that's Tamisa and Taser's, my middle two grandmother, her teaching me, how to act, how women things, right? So I used to let people all in my house and in my bed and all types of things like that. She was like, people don't need to be in your room, in your bedroom, and you don't let anybody, like have sex in your bed. Like, if they're dealing with somebody, they should be able to get a hotel room or something like that. But those things I didn't know because I wasn't taught that. And so I was this open and free and vulnerable person, but I learned a lot of my womanliness from elders and from my children's grandmothers, and I'm very grateful for that. God has put, women across my path to help teach me the right way to be. And the key to that is being open to it. I wish I would have also done less of, hey, we can't do that because we don't have the money to do it. When my kids were in high school, it came down to a point where I was like, you know what? One of my daughters came to me and she was like, I want to do this. And I was like, well, why don't you? She was like, because we don't have the money. And it was at that point that I realized that I shared a lot with my children. They were like my little best friends. And so I thought that since we were growing up together, that I share these things with them so they know how to be responsible. But I put a little bit too much on them too early. And so if I had it to go back and do again, I would allow them to be children, right? I wouldn't let them know about the struggles. And so it was at that moment in high school when my daughter said that to me, it broke me down. And I said, you know what, baby? You tell me what it is that you want to do. Y'all tell me what it is y'all want to do, and I'll worry about the money part, right? So that is one thing that I wish I could go back and do differently. I can also say that a great resource to me, even after I was married and my husband was in prison, was my church family. And that was a big, big thing in my life, a center of my life. My pastor was more like my father than my father ever was. His wife, Mother Dawkins, Melanie Dawkins, I give her my heart and my love even to this day, because she also helped me grow as a woman and helped me to be a better mother, be a better parent, and to learn that grace and to show my children some understanding. Now, in hindsight, we lived at church, and so maybe there was some other things. I didn't have balance, I would say. So I would go back if I had to do it all over again and provide a little bit more balance and not make our waking and breathing moment in church. However, I felt that I needed it. So this Mother's Day, I'm grateful to be a mother of 3 daughters. Um, and I'm grateful to have had a son that I was able to love for 16 months. I'm grateful for the women in my life, and I hope that you take the time out to share time with your mother, to have an open relationship, a communicative relationship, a reciprocitous relationship, and understand your parents were only able to parent you as much as what they knew to do. And sometimes that wasn't much, especially in my era. So take time out to love your parents. Take time out to love and appreciate your mother this Mother's Day weekend. Thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day.